This channel won't survive without your subscription and likes. Help me. Just a second ago, he was grinning, dousing the guardsman with water, basking in the crowd's attention. But then, the figure in the red uniform moved. A heavy shoulder slammed into his chest with a dull thud. Bruce was sent flying backward, crashing onto the pavement. His phone slipped from his hand, still recording the moment of his humiliation. The crowd erupted. Cheers, gasps, cameras shooting up. Someone shouted, "Holy shit, did you see that?" But what happened next shocked everyone. Let's start from the very beginning. A scorching midday sun hung over London. The heat was relentless, glinting off the iron gates of Buckingham Palace, filling the square with a shimmering haze. The smell of street food mingled with expensive perfumes, while the air buzzed with chaos. Camera flashes popping, a jumble of voices in dozens of languages, and tour guides shouting over one another. The Queen's guards stood motionless, unaffected by the commotion. Dressed in their iconic red uniforms with towering black bearskin hats, they looked like pieces on a chessboard, perfect, rigid, emotionless. Their faces were shadowed, and even the light breeze that ruffled the palace flags couldn't stir their strict composure. But today, something was different. Cutting through the hum of tourists was a loud, cocky voice, an American accent, sharp against the British crowd. "All right, people, today's the day. Let's see if these guys are as tough as they say." Heads began turning toward the source of the voice, a man in his early 40s. He walked with an easy swagger, like a guy with nowhere to be and nothing to lose. His tanned, slightly weathered skin, messy blonde hair, and a "Make America Great Again" cap tilted back on his head made him impossible to miss. A baggy t-shirt with an American flag draped over his frame, and his jeans had dirt stains, as if he'd been rolling around somewhere before showing up. In one hand, he held a plastic water bottle. In the other, his phone, camera aimed at himself. The crowd instinctively parted around him. Some already knew where this was going. He loved being the center of attention. With a smug grin, Bruce stepped right up to one of the guards, a tall, fit man whose sharp features were nearly hidden under his massive black hat. The guard stood like a statue, posture flawless, stance firm but restrained. "Yo, buddy, how's the weather in there?" Bruce smirked, waving a hand toward the towering bearskin. The crowd chuckled. Some tourists pulled out their phones, sensing something about to unfold. No one knew how this would end, but the air was buzzing with anticipation. Bruce gave an exaggerated bow, like he was about to perform for the Queen herself. Then he straightened up and let out a loud laugh. "You even alive in there? Maybe you need a little wake-up call, huh?" A few nervous laughs rippled through the crowd, but the guard didn't blink, and that only fueled Bruce's fire. Now he knew exactly who he was playing with. The crowd held its breath. They'd all seen tourists try to get a reaction from the guards, pulling faces, waving hands in front of them, and every single time it ended the same way. Total silence, absolute discipline. But this guy was pushing it. Bruce wasn't about to stop. With a lazy grin, he took another step forward, his dusty sneakers nearly touching the guard's polished black boots. "Since you don't want to talk, maybe you just need a little water?" Click. The bottle cap twisted slightly in his fingers, releasing a soft hiss. A few drops splashed onto the ground, trickling down in thin streams toward the soldier's feet. The crowd gasped. "Dude, is he insane?" "That's too much." "But I kinda want to see what happens." Bruce burst out laughing, looking straight into his camera as he tilted the bottle a little more. Now the water wasn't just hitting the pavement, it was landing directly on the guard's black trousers. Drip, drip. Dark patches spread across the fabric, soaking in slowly. The murmurs in the crowd grew anxious. Some people lowered their phones, sensing this might be going too far. But Bruce didn't care. He leaned in, his face inches from the motionless figure. Dude, I'm just trying to cool you off. It's hot as hell. Ha ha. The guard didn't flinch, but something shifted. Only the most observant caught it. The slight tightening of his jaw, the way his fingers gripped the rifle just a little harder. The crowd froze. The tension crackled in the air, thick and heavy, like the silence before a storm. The crowd wasn't laughing anymore. What had started as dumb hooliganism had now turned into something disgusting. But Bruce didn't care. He felt like the star of the show. The camera in his hand shook from his laughter, but it was still locked onto the silent guardsman. "Well, Mr. Stoneface, maybe it's time for a reaction?" With that, he suddenly lifted the bottle and dumped the rest of the water straight onto the guard's chest. The crowd hissed in protest. "Hey, man, that's enough. Dude, that's seriously messed up." But Bruce just cackled, relishing every second of his little triumph. Water streamed down the guard's perfectly pressed red uniform, soaking into the fabric, dripping off the gleaming gold buttons onto his polished black boots. Yet, the guardsman didn't move. His figure remained frozen, like a statue carved from stone. And yet, some in the crowd noticed how his fingers tightened ever so slightly around his rifle. But Bruce didn't notice. He leaned in even closer, nearly pressing his face against the silent soldier. His eyes glowed with smug satisfaction. "Well, buddy, you enjoying this? Maybe now you'll say something?" Silence. The crowd held its breath. And then, thud! The guard stepped forward. A massive shoulder slammed into Bruce's chest with such force that the air shot out of his lungs. He flew backward, hitting the ground hard, water splashing all over him. A stunned silence. Then, screams and shouts. "Holy shit! Did you see that? Oh my God, he took him out!" Phones shot up, capturing every second of Bruce sprawled on the pavement. He blinked, trying to process what had just happened. But it was too late. The show was over. Bruce lay frozen on the pavement, eyes wide. His breathing was ragged, chest rising and falling in panic. His dirty, soaking wet American flag t-shirt clung to his skin, jeans drenched, making him look pathetic. But it wasn't the cold water that hit him the hardest. It was the realization. A Queen's Guard had just knocked him flat on his ass. The crowd roared in delight. "Hell yeah! He really took him out! Dude got exactly what he deserved." Shock, confusion, humiliation. It all swirled inside Bruce. Slowly, he pushed himself up onto his hands and knees, frantically looking around. Cameras were pointed straight at him. Phone screens blinked red, recording. This moment was already viral. And then he saw his own phone. It lay in a puddle beside him, the screen still glowing, still recording. The entire internet was about to see this. A sharp whistle cut through the air. Bruce froze. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw security moving toward the crowd. That was it. Game over. Snatching up his phone, he scrambled to his feet, not even bothering to shake off the water. And then, he ran, soaked, furious, humiliated. The crowd erupted into applause and laughter. Bruce kept running, but the sound of their mocking cheers chased after him. And behind him, as if nothing had happened, the guard straightened his posture and resumed his position. Like nothing had ever happened.